In section 7.1, we're going to cover oblique triangles and the law of sines. The law of sines says you can put the side A over sine A, and that has to equal side B over sine C or C over sine C. And you would usually be taking two of these at one time. And so that's the formula that we're going to use. Solving side angle angle and angle side angle triangles. If you know two angles and one side, then the law of sines can be used to solve the triangle. So let's look at what that means. Solve triangle ABC if angle A is 32 degrees, B is 81.8 degrees, and side A is 42.9. Remember that solve the triangle means find all the angles and the sides. So we know side A and angle A. So we can put A over sine of 32 degrees has to equal B, we don't know that, over sine of 81.8. And then what you want to do is cross multiply. Do this and this. So B sine 32, I wrote that, equals 42.9 times sine of 81.8. Since I'm trying to solve for B, I'm going to divide by sine 32. So when I do that over here, it cancels out, and I have B is equal to this. And then you can do that in your calculator. Be sure you're in degree mode, and you will get B equals 80.1. To find angle C, if you know two of the angles, you can totally find the third one because it's 180 minus the sum of the two that you know. So 180 minus 32 plus 81.8 gives you 66.2. Then we can find sine C by using the law of sines. A over sine A equals C over sine C. The one piece we don't know is the side C, and then we do it the same way. We're going to cross multiply, divide by this piece. So we have C equals 42.9 times sine of 66.2 divided by sine of 32. We get C is 74.1. So pretty straightforward on that. There's one other formula that we get here. The area of a triangle can be found by using any of these three formulas, and you would do it depending on which parts you were given. So let's look at an example and see how that would work. So it says find the area of the triangle ABC given, and you're given angle B, side A, and side C. So if you're given angle B, you know you're going to use that formula that had sine B, this one. So it's 1/2 of A times C times sine B. You fill in the pieces that you need, and then that's strictly in the calculator. I would put in A times C times sine B, and then I would divide it by 2 at the end. So that's how we do that. Let's go look at our problem set. So the first one says select the correct choice. A triangle that is not right triangle is, and that's oblique. Remember, that's the name of the section, oblique triangles. And so that's what we're doing when we don't have a right triangle. Number 2, in the law of sines, A over sine A equals B over, sine B goes here, C over sine C goes here. For any triangle ABC, its area can be found using the formula A equals. Now, what you know, they all look, oh, those look similar, but the angle that you use to do the sine, those letters are not included here. So with sine B, you should have a C there. With sine A, you should have a C there. This is the only one that totally works. Number 4, find the length of side A. Do not use a calculator. So here's the deal. Sine of 45 over A equals sine of 30 over 6. And so when you cross multiply, like we've done when we were going to use the calculator, we have 6 sine 45 equals a sine 30. So it's a hope that at this point you know the sine of 30 is 1/2. The sine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. You're going to divide by 1/2, and that's like multiplying by 2 over 1, which means if we did that here, the 2's would cancel out, and you are left with the 6 square roots of 2 as your a value. So we didn't have to use a calculator because we were supposed to know those values. In number 5, we are going to be using our calculator. These are not angles that we know. And so we are given angle C and angle B, and we are given side A, and we don't have anything else. So the first thing I would do would be to find angle A. That's 180 minus the sum of 67 and 49. So you get 64. And then I drew that in my picture. That just kind of helps. So now I can solve for B. I can say sine of 49 over B is equal to sine of 64 over 10. Do our cross multiplication. And once you get to this point, that's all calculator. And I would, when I do them, I would say 10 times sine 49. I'd go ahead and hit enter. And then whatever you get, divide by sine 64. You can also solve for C, doing that same thing, and you should get C is 10.24. Number 6. So in number 6, we're given 2 angles and one of the sides. So we can again start out by finding angle B. It's 180 minus the sum of those. And so we get 37.1. I went ahead and drew it in. And then you can just go through and find your other sides using the law of sines. It's the same thing over and over. Cross multiply, divide by this one so that you isolate the side and get that. And then I did the same thing to solve for B. So same process over and over. Let's see what 8 is. 8, same thing. They did not give us a picture, so you want to be sure and draw your picture. I usually just draw, doesn't matter where you put A, B, C, but they gave me the things in red. And then I need to find side A, side B, and angle C. Angle C is the easiest, 180 minus the sum of those. And then I put that in blue there. Then I can start using law of sines to get my sides. And same thing, put it in the law of sines form, cross multiply, divide, and then you've got this to put in your calculator. Do the same thing for side B. So we're just repeating the process again and again. Now this one's a little bit different. It wants us to find the area of this triangle using 2 different methods. One is the formula that you're used to hearing. So the first thing I would say to do is we need to draw this as a triangle, which I did here. And how do I know that this is 32 and this is 35? Actually, I've drawn it backwards. It will work either way. But if the angle here is 35, then this one is 35 because they're parallel lines. So I redrew this to match the picture. It worked the other way, but it might be a little bit confusing. When you have parallel lines, which is essentially what we're seeing in the picture, and we've got this. So if we know this angle is 35, alternate interior tells us that one's 35, and if this one's 32, then this one's 32. That's how we know that we can draw the triangle like that. So having this picture, I did sine 35 over A equals sine 113 over 1.2. And then cross multiply, you solve, and you get this A is 0.74. So I had to figure that out. Then I went over, and we're supposed to be finding this height right here because that's how high the balloonist is. So now we're going to focus on this little triangle in here. Sine of 32 degrees over this, I'm going to call this X, is equal to sine of 90, this angle, over 0.74. When we do all that, we solve and we get X equals 0.40. So a little bit of work on that, a little bit of remembering geometry, but now you do know that. So hopefully you'll be able to work all of those.